If I were to think though about the pricing, because when a lot of people ask me when they talk about river cruising, they want to know, right? What's the value proposition of a river cruise? They have an idea, again, what's on the ocean, but river cruising slightly different, and some of the things you're going to do on ship are completely different. So, can you kind of walk me through that value proposition, inclusive of what I pay for and what do I get, but maybe also wrap in some of the experiential things?
Absolutely, Ryan. It is a very inclusive kind of a product, right? You're used to paying for a lot of these small things like cookies and cake and tea time and scoops of ice cream on oceans, where these are definitely included, such as your shore excursion, your daily shore excursion. All the meals on board are included. It is, you know, it covers your wine and beer with lunch and dinner, even bottled water on excursions in your cabin. So a lot of these things, like I said, on oceans that guests have been used to paying for, you don't have that necessarily. What's wonderful is it's the tea time, these kind of things, coffees, specialty coffees, your lattes, macchiatos, and espressos, and all of these things are included any time of day. Really amazing, since a lot of our guests use their phones, use their tablet computers. They bring those to their trips. Wi-Fi is included, and it's not only for a couple of 100 minutes. It is really for the duration of the entire cruise, and it works very, very nice. All these ships are equipped with Starlink. It works very, very well. Um, the infotainment system, let's not forget about that. All of that in every cabin, port charges, taxes, government fees. You don't pay for those. So it is a fresh breeze not having to pay for all of these little things. It's very much appreciated. And I think this is probably the no nickel and diming approach is probably one of the big uh, things that drove guests in the early years of river cruising from oceans to rivers to really try this wonderful new product.
Yeah, I like the thought process that it's pretty close to all inclusive, as you
Mhm.
mentioned. Your all your meals are taken care of. How many restaurants typically on a river vessel would you have an option to choose from?
So you have multiple dining venues. They all be served out of the same galley, if you will, but there's lighter menu options. Let's just say you have your main dining room with your sit-down dinner. A majority of the guests choose to dine there, but there is a beautiful Aquavit Terrace, the Aquavit Lounge, where there is let's just say, a lunch buffet with carving station, and oftentimes we grill even out on the Aquavit. So there's additional options to choose from, because most guests that go out for a day trip, for an excursion, they maybe have just a light lunch, a sandwich, a soup, a little carving, a little sausage meal, or those kind of things. And that is definitely a great option to have in the lounge as well. So really, don't imagine that everybody goes into the dining room. There's many areas on the ship to enjoy your meals. Even for dinner, you have a lot of guests that enjoy al fresco dining for dinner, especially now in the summertime, where you can easily do that. And don't forget about the views from that al fresco dining spot. This is incredible. To sail into Budapest and dine, surrounded by millions of city lights is incredible.
Yeah, you've really described, I think, when I think of river, a
Mhm.
stress-free experience. And so if you're an ocean cruiser and you're trying river for the first time, you don't need to worry about, am I on the first dining or the second seating dining? Or what if I don't have my reservations? Or I want to get into the specialty dining restaurant, and what is that going to cost me? Guess what? There's plenty of seating. You don't never have to worry about stressing, do I have my dining reservations for the entirety of the trip scheduled? You will find an open seat somewhere on the ship in the multiple venues. You don't pay for the a specialty. There is no upcharge specialty restaurant, as Reiner pointed out. So to me, it's really a relaxing, stress-free experience. You have less passengers to deal with. You don't have to worry about, oh my gosh, on the third night of the ship, we don't have a dining reservation. What are we going to do, honey? Your wife and you don't need to stress about it. There will be plenty of options of great food, light fare, heavy fare, plenty of options on a Viking river ship in this case. You touched on some of the inclusiveness, and one of the main things people, I believe, love about river cruising is the excursion options, but because they're included. This isn't something that, and you know this, on some of those ocean cruise lines, there's an expensive ticket that you have to pay to get that special excursion experience in each and every port. Walk me through what an excursion experience looks like on Viking because they're included.
Absolutely. So you have to view it like this. We bring you to a new city, you get into the town, and your daily excursion every single day is included, like you said. It starts, everybody of these 190 passengers, the majority of them walk off the ship leisurely within 10 minutes. The ship is basically on board, on land. And we're following our guides, and we avoid groups larger than 25, maybe 30 guests to one guide. And they all wear their audio box headsets so that you get a live commentary as you're walking the city, and every guest has their own receiver. And they work at about 100 yards away, so you don't have to have your head in a huddle. So all local guides that tell you about their hometown. So what we're doing on all of our excursions, we're kind of breaking them up in three different tiers, right? So they're themed differently. You have your working world excursions where we might go into a vineyard or into a bakery, learn about the local economy, the history, and those kind of things. Privileged access excursions, they take you behind the scenes. For example, renowned museums of the world like the Louvre or the Sistine Chapel, where we go after hours, right? This is something you can't necessarily book somewhere just off the rack. These are, with the buying power of Viking, with the wonderful relations we have in the destination, we really go behind the scenes after hours. And the last thing we want is, of course, people standing in line, so always frontline access. So there comes a lot of privileges that we give our guests and provide our guests. And then, of course, local life, right? We learn about the locals. We meet the locals. That's very important, right? It's oftentimes a challenge to meet locals that share their experiences, their upbringing, especially when we sail behind the Iron Curtain, the former Iron Curtain, into the Eastern countries, right? Where we organize meetings with local families, oftentimes even go into their homes in smaller groups and learn about their experiences, what it meant back in those days. So there is, of course, specialty interest tours in the afternoons. Those are optional. Like you mentioned, somebody might be interested in how a Mercedes-Benz is assembled. So there's tours that go in the factories where you learn how these are being put together. And those are for a fee. You book them ahead of time. But always your daily shore excursion is always included. And normally they leave right around 8:39, 8:45 in the morning, right after breakfast, and they return somewhat 12:30, 1 o'clock back on the ship for lunch.